How are you?
Wonderful.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
I am here with my friend. Can I call you friend? Are we on that level?
Brother from another mother, baby. Absolutely.
You're the
Dang.
brother or I'm the brother?
Sister from another mister. There we go. She's like, wait a minute, who's the brother?
I mean, obviously you're the brother.
Yeah, we're brothers. I mean, me and Vince are brothers from another mother.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So Jimmie, tell me about yourself. Like, who are you? Tell YouTube who you are, and social media, anybody who's watching, everyone who's watching.
Jimmie Bell, originally from the
That's right, Youngstown,
Ohio. Earned a scholarship to play at Ohio State University. Graduated from the Ohio State University. Played in the 90s. Went on to play a little professional football in the States and abroad. And now I travel the country, do a lot of motivational speaking and life coaching. And I do local media here for Fox and ABC News.
Oh, do you?
Yep, for the Buckeyes. So we're coming up Saturday morning, 7:45 with Maria Durant, my better half. Well, anyone is on my other half is my better half. Like I told your daughter early, I'm not attractive. I just make you laugh, right? So that's a little bit of my spiel. That's a little bit of who I am.
Cool. Well, I met Jimmie. He came to our church, Impact City Church, and he spoke on Buckeye Sunday, right?
All right, sure, yes. Buckeye Sunday, we had a ball.
I bought his shirt. I was looking to put on the shirt, but I think it's dirty. I bought one of your Ohio shirts. So
She stunk it up, but at least she's wearing it.
yeah, I do. I wear it all the time. It's probably in many of these videos,
There you
actually.
go.
So do you still sell those shirts?
Most certainly I do. For the OH.com. Just an extension of my brand. I'm kind of a little visible, so I just have used that, to further market and just bring attention and, create some intimacy between myself and other people. It
Cool.
works well.
That's your hat too.
And
You
this
sell
is the
that?
hat. Yes, and I do keep my sticker on the hat. Someone tried to de-stick me.
I did not know that.
Right?
Was
If
a
we
thing.
were in a furniture store, she'd be arrested because the things in the furniture store says it's a federal fine to take the stickers off
Listen,
the chairs.
I wasn't sure if he just forgot to take his sticker off. I didn't know. You know how people be walking around, they have their small, medium, or large sticker on their pants or a tag hanging off. I was trying to do you a favor, Jimmie.
Dig it.
Didn't want you to look
I get
silly.
it. I appreciate the concern,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, I'll not touch anybody's sticker ever again without asking permission first. Apparently, you should ask. So
It's called personal space. It's called personal space. Were you taught that as a kid?
no.
Okay. Hope you learned it as an adult.
Oh, I am tonight. Learning it now, Jimmie.
Oh, that is great. That is great. But you hit me up on Facebook. DM, all up in my DM. Oh, she all up in my DM.
Is that what that's called? I
Yeah.
see people like DM me. What does DM mean?
Direct message, I think.
I don't know. I'm like, what is
all
DM?
up in my DM.
I just say, hey, message me on Facebook, but DM makes it shorter and easier, I guess, if you know what it means.
Yeah.
So yeah, I DM'd
Yeah.
Jimmie.
Yeah. And you asked me to come on and talk about some things. So what are we going to talk about?
All right, so I did. I messaged Jimmie and I said, hey, football season's coming up. I am not a football fan, but I am a people fan. And I know there's a lot of talk going on about kneeling before the football games.
Yes.
And I love Jimmie because he's very vocal on social media about different things. And I love that he's a love bully. You call
That's
yourself
what I call
a
myself, the love bully.
bully.
Absolutely.
So what does that mean exactly?
True story. I'm watching one of my favorite movies with Will Smith. The name of it went off for me with the zombies. I Am Legend.
Oh.
Right? I Am Legend. He goes, if you remember in I Am Legend, he goes off to tell the lady who's never heard of Bob Marley before. He said, because he named his daughter Marley, who had died in a movie. And he gave this story about when Bob Marley was doing a concert, someone came on stage and shot him, right? The next day, dude comes out of the hospital and he gets back on stage. And people are like, dude, what are you doing? He said the people who are trying to make the world worse and trying to perpetuate evil, they're not taking a day off. So I can't take a day off with my love. See, Bob Marley believed that he could inject through his music love into every individual. And that's who he was, and that's what he did. So I thought to myself, I said, man, that sounds like me. Like I'm an all-in dude. Like I'm all in with my faith and my love and just who I am. And I thought to myself, there's people who absolutely positively know my flow. They know I'm a lover, they know I'm positive, and they'll come to me with stuff. I'm talking all the time, negative stuff. And not looking for help or nothing, but literally just on the negative tip. They have no concern for me, right? And then I'm sitting here in an empathetic place, trying to make them feel comfortable when they don't care about being comfortable with me. So I said, you know what? The same way that people are bullied with negativity, I'm gonna be a bully with my love, right? Because I know I'm a good dude, I know I'm a lover, and if you look up the word bully in the dictionary, which I did, because I knew a lot of people would try to come at me with the negative connotation of bully, and bully just, what it means, one of the things that it means is to move someone against their will from one place to the next. Right? And that's my lifestyle. I am moving and shifting people with my love.
So that's one of the things that attracted me to you, is because I feel like I'm a lover too. And so the reason that I actually DM'd you is because I wanted to talk about this topic, about the kneeling
of the national anthem.
Yes.
During the national anthem.
During the national anthem. And so I wanted to ask you question number 1.
Uno.
Jimmie Bell.
What's cracking?
If you were playing for the NFL, would you take a knee?
Dum, dum, dum. No, I wouldn't kneel. I don't kneel. And not for, I don't know why. I choose to stand and salute the national anthem. That's a personal preference. Mm-hmm. So
I was not expecting that.
Why would you expect anything different?
I don't know. I was not expecting that. I thought that you would be a kneeler. So
I love it. She said, I thought you'd be a kneeler.
I thought you'd be a kneeler, Jimmy.
I want to know why I would be a kneeler. Why the perception of a kneeler? This is going to be a great conversation.
Oh, Lord. No, I just did. I thought, I see all your Facebook posts, and I'm like, Jimmy is a kneeler for sure. We would be kneeling.
Yeah.
But nope. Okay, well, that's what you get for assuming,
that's
right?
That's the good thing with me. I have a perspective. See, this is how I operate. Jimmy always operates in truth. And then once truth is established, then I operate in perspective, right? Me kneeling or not kneeling for the national anthem is a perspective, right? Like it's not a definitive answer. It's not a definitive anything. Whether someone kneels during the national anthem or not, it actually means nothing.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's a symbolism. What's more important is where do you stand with why this has become the topic that it's become. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's where Jim is. And sometimes I am not an assumer. Like I'm a question asker, right? I made that up. Figure Jesse Jackson can make them up, I can make them up too. I ask questions all the time because I never want to be in a position where I'm assuming something. So with this anthem thing, and even the way that our country is, it's a shame that, and I'm not saying this about you, but it's a shame that we walk down the street and we literally assume things about people simply with how they look, their stature, what they've been, all of these different things. There's an assumption and the lack of conversation.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We talked about the lack of conversation a little bit today. So I am not a kneeler.
So why exactly would you not kneel?
I was raised with a different type of respect. I'm talking like even football. I was raised in an era where, like, you know, you got the face mask grabbed and it wasn't a big deal, blah, 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 blah. So sometimes I myself, Jimmie Bell, I have to be responsible for the perception of things sometimes. And there's a discomfort in me personally with the thought of what someone thinks inappropriately of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get
so
that.
In some ways, it's for the safety. That sounds crazy. It's for the safety of some people. But for me, I don't have a problem with acknowledging, you know, my respect for what I'm respectful for. Does that make sense? So now, now this is the flip side. You'll have someone to be like, "Oh, Jim, you get it. You don't kneel for the anthem. You such and such." I'll be like, "Nah, fool. Like, it's legitimate why they're doing it." Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, me kneeling has nothing to do with my point of view of what's the, you know, the present conversation of things, and that's how I am. I always like to start with the truth with things, and then, you know, let it broaden out in opinions and perspective conversation with anything.
Right. So do you feel that it might be disrespectful to the military people, people who have passed away or been killed? Let's just say it, they were killed to fight for this country, and people are kneeling during the national anthem. Do you feel as though it's disrespectful to do that?
No, I personally don't, because of what the national anthem actually means at that time. And it doesn't mean anything. It never has, right? It's a song that was chosen to be paid for at the beginning of sporting events. Up until a certain time, the national anthem hadn't been done before sporting events. And it definitely hadn't been televised. But at some point, I forgot what part of the department of whatever paid the NFL, more preferably, is what we're talking about, to show it and kneel and make it this huge patriotic movement, right? People haven't been, people been sitting, going to concessions, national anthem time. Let me get my beer, let me get my hot dog, let me get my nacho. You see what I'm saying? So the national anthem hasn't even been prevalent to the same people that it's upsetting to.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? The truth of the matter when it comes to the national anthem is that, and we'll bounce around, but the kneeling of it, believe it or not, to me, is the expression of what's actually patriotic about this country.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That's the truth. Now, someone can choose to allow their emotions or allow their experiences to have a different perspective on it. Well, I can't hear that if you don't acknowledge the fact that that's one of the most patriotic things that someone could do. You see what I'm saying? Our whole country was based upon the fact of protest. You know,
freedom.
And freedom. People came over here for protest and freedom, and you're literally telling someone that you can't do that.
Right.
That's the thing. When I hear people talk, I'm like, listen to your words. You can't do that. And then you're so uncomfortable with yourself that you'll say, I'm not saying I don't agree with it, but just don't do it at that time in that way. I'll be like, oh my gosh, are you? What are you talking about? You see what I'm saying? You're trying to be manipulative to yourself because you're not convincing anyone else of that. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's part of my truth when it comes to the whole the kneeling of people kneeling for the national anthem.
Got it.
You know who Colin Kaepernick is? Okay. Oh, Lord have mercy. Get ready for the history lesson. And he didn't march with Dr. Martin Luther King, okay? He didn't march with Dr. King. Okay, Colin Kaepernick he was actually a starting quarterback in the NFL that played for San Francisco 49ers. Now, let's put another couple things in context.
Okay.
Probably in the past 5 years, social media has been inundated with visions of police enforcement killing African American people in the community. Okay, that's really what I personally think the whole Colin Kaepernick thing came from. So what he chose to do is to specifically sit during the national anthem and protest to African American people being killed in the community with no recourse, with no justice, right? So where it went from there is a reporter happened to see Colin sitting. People have been singing the national anthem forever, but he asked Colin specifically, and then he told him. He said, "Well, I choose to sit during the national anthem, and I don't even think he said in protest. He said, I refuse to stand for the flag of a country that seems to not be willing to give equal justices to African American people as they do to, I say European Americans. I don't like white and black.
We white folk.
Yeah, I don't like white and black because that's goofy to me too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like people they look at the skin of their color and they say, "Oh, that's where I fit." I think that's the dumbest crap in the. No, where you from? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know where I'm actually from either.
I'm just American.
And I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah, but
He's like, yeah.
But my heritage. No, but all of our heritage comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's a huge understanding and undertone of even what we're all talking about and I think for some people it's harder to understand another side. For someone who just say looks like you, just say, "Man, I'm American. Aren't you American too?" To someone who looks like me, well, it's like, yeah, but we don't get treated the same as Americans.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? America does not mean the same to equally truthfully the same to someone who even just looks like me and someone who looks like you. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
it's almost unfair to even consider it. It's almost like, well, how do you feel about America? You know what I'm saying? When I think about it, how should someone approach me or another? Well, how do you feel about America? But just to, oh man, we're Americans. It's like, yeah, but my kids don't get the same consideration as an American whole as someone else's kids. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's what makes it difficult for a lot of really amazing Europeans to understand the African American side, because they want to see the most positive part about our country, as we all should and want to. But some people do live another part of it that's not so positive, literally only because the color of your skin.
Yeah.
Not because you're Irish,
Right.
not because you're Italian, not because you're Scottish. I dare you to tell a Scottish person that they're Irish. You may be in for a battle. You see what I'm saying? But in this country, you're awarded because of your skin color. Where an African in America, that's what I generally call it. You can be from Nairobi, Zimbabwe. You can be from Ghana. You can be from the Ivory Coast. You can be from Sierra Leone. You can be from Egypt. You can be from Rwanda. You can be from Somalia. You can be from Eritrea. You can be from all of these other countries. And that doesn't even matter. The only thing in this country that matters is this, which is absolutely ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I've actually had to reconcile with the black and white thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So.
No, that's exactly why I wanted you here, is because you just said it, is because of the color of my skin, I can't possibly understand what you go through or what your children go through or what anybody of color goes through. I don't understand it. I've never had to experience it. And so I want to get a glimpse into your life and into the life of all of the African American community and see what is this all about? What is this kneeling? It's obviously something like this. It wouldn't be nothing if, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, people would not be taking a stand or kneeling during such a important visible
time for sure.
Time if nothing was going on. And I think us white, I'm just gonna say white and black. Are you okay with that?
Girl,
are you cool?
I know where you come from, girl.
I'm just gonna say it. Me as a white person has no clue. I have no idea, and I want to understand.
But that's a big part of the progression. That's a big part of the conversation, and we talked about that earlier today. Is that, you know, when and if you talk to your parents, and it's the same with my parents, there was so much dialogue back in the day that people had an opportunity to hear themselves. They had an opportunity to see things that they weren't even happy with that looked like them, and some of them were them. So they had an opportunity to make a change, right? To make a change, look for different levels of sympathy, compassion, and even empathy, and just flat out, no, I don't want my kids to be like that. That's ridiculous. That's not how I want to be. Mm-hmm. Well, we've gotten so distracted with access and more stuff that I think the dialogue has changed, which means that if there's no dialogue, how could there be any understanding? And when there's a lack of understanding, generally there's fear, right? And in this country that it's inundated with racial overtones, undertones, and middle tones, right? Whenever there's anything that has to do with race, it's always an overwhelming emotional charge with people. Yeah. So when Colin decided to sit initially, so it was a sit, then he ended up speaking with, I believe it's an Army Ranger. You military people, don't get mad at me if I got it wrong. But he's in the military, he's a famous guy. And the guy said, out of respect, because Colin said, it's not about the military. I don't want it to be about the military. I don't want people to even think or consider that it's about the military. Well, he said, well, do this. In honor of the military, if you still want to protest, then just kneel. So the kneel actually came out of someone from the military giving Colin a perspective and instruction that Colin actually followed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because
didn't know that.
He could have continued to say, man, whatever what you saying. I don't care what you say. I'm gonna keep sitting because me sitting is fine. No. He listened, he understood, and he agreed because he knew it always hadn't been about the military.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
really, I mean, he's being very respectful to the military if he's taking the advice from a military person.
100%.
So, in short, no, you don't think it's disrespectful to the flag or to the military to be kneeling?
I think disrespect is in context. I think that, listen, I think we're gaining attention. I mean, whoever chooses to protest in any way, they're gaining attention. Mm-hmm. So it's not disrespectful to the military, but I don't think that it's trying to be respectful, right? like you know that it's gaining attention. You know that it's making people upset. Well, that's part of what protest is.
Right.
Protest is meant to make people think, to make people uncomfortable to consider. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it would not be disrespectful to protest in your own living room.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But,
of course.
But is that going to gain attention and perspective? No. I don't think he's being disrespectful to the flag and the military. because he said it. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like, that's what he said. And he's gotten information, advice, and instruction from the military on what's the best way to make sure that I'm still protesting without it being about you, without people considering that it's about you. Perspective is everything to me. Context and perspective, it can take something that went from a 0 to 100 back to 2 if we allow it. But we haven't, this country, Americans haven't allowed it. You see what I'm saying? Americans are continuing to be mad. They want to be mad. They want to consider that someone, and this is what I think is hysterical, in the land of the free, and as much as people say that things are equal and get out of this country if you don't want to be here, it's like, dude, do you understand? You're literally speaking out against a culture of people who are asking for things to be better. What's the problem? You see what I'm saying? Like, how are you so angry that someone wants things better for themselves?
Right.
Better for my kids. I don't want your stuff. I don't want your stuff. But I do want my kids to have it better.
So how could it be better? What could we do? What could America do? What is the conversation that actually needs to be had?
That's a good question. I'm a little bit different. I'm a history guy. So I always come from a history context of things. Okay, so let's cover the kneeling thing first.
Okay.
So social media, so I think a lot of the outrage of the African American community isn't actually so much that the visibility of police officers killing people, African Americans in the country. The outrage is that they're not being held responsible for their actions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think out of a lot of the visible cases that we've seen, very few police officers have been held accountable for obvious injustices. Like even some of them that have made legitimate mistakes. Does that make sense? I can't make a mistake and go kill someone.
Right.
It's called involuntary manslaughter. You see what I'm saying? But I'll still be punished. So what vision does it give and or hope does it give an African American child or human that sees that this country is willing to allow injustice to just run slapshot through their livelihood? I'm not saying I agree with rioting and this and that and this, these other things, the way that people express themselves, but I definitely understand. Now, when you talk about our world, our nation's stance, now I'm a little bit of a cynic. I don't think it will change. I don't think it'll change. Individuals can change.
Right.
But the system is designed to do what the system is doing. Does that make sense? America has a system that's put in place to create the wealth that it's designed to create in the way that it has, right? So think about the Revolutionary War back in the day. Like, they didn't stop, like they didn't end the Revolutionary War by saying, okay, you guys do your thing, we're gone. No, there's treaties in place, right? Treaties are just agreements between that person, this country, that country, blah, 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 to say this is what we'll do, this is what we won't do. Well, our country is literally based, the United States of America is actually owned by the same people that founded this country. You see what I'm saying? That's why you have a lot of European and international mega businesses that flow through here. Our imports actually exceed a lot of our exports. Well, there's a reason for that, and it's always been that way. and then part of the slavery conversation, economically, that has always been part of this country. Even in emancipation, if you look up the emancipation in the dictionary, there's a difference between freedom and emancipation. African Americans in this country, the slaves were emancipated. It just says that humans couldn't own humans. So African Americans became state owned. They became country owned. Did that make sense? So when slavery came, it didn't come off the books that people who looked like me weren't any better than a cat or a horse or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So that's the lifestyle in the system that we're operating out of. So to me, if things really were to change, then the system has to be eradicated and a new system has to be put in place. It's like the same thing, the same perspective I have when Jesus comes back. Right now we're under a secular system. And if you talk to any Jewish rabbis, they'll teach you that. When they believe the second coming comes back, they don't think that this thing is going to change. Everything's going to look the same. It's going to flow the same. The difference will be the system. Therefore, instead of a secular consciousness in which we're under now, it'll be a God consciousness. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you'll have your same people doing their thing, blah, 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 but they're going to bow down to God. You see what I'm saying? They're going to bow down to Jesus, right? Well, I think the same type of thing, if we really want some type of change in this country, that's how it has to happen. A new system of love. That's my thing, right?
Yeah.
A new system of love needs to be put in place that systematically and through years and years, and my grandkids and your guys' grandkids and their grandkids go through this new system, and the seeds of it matriculates through everyone's soul and their heart, that they're actually living that thing. Right now, even with people that don't know, they still are living the seeds of the system that's been put in place.
Yeah.
And that's what's difficult.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
That was a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to think about, and not like, I keep saying it, but I just don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what you don't know until somebody says, hey, you don't know this.
Yeah.
You know, and I think for me, that's what the kneeling has stood for, is like, hey, you don't know this. You don't know everything that's going on. And so I'm thankful that you're willing to come and talk about some stuff. And
I think it's on both sides. I always tell my African American black friends that as empathetic and sympathetic as you want white people, European people to be of you and us, then we have to walk in the same sympathy and empathy. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's going to be tons of people that's going to be unintentionally inappropriate according to the black culture. Now, I have reconciled with black and white through culture.
Right.
There's a black culture and there's a white culture in this country. And there's some things that are acceptable or not acceptable in the black culture. And there's some things that are acceptable and not acceptable in the white culture.
So can I ask you what some of those things are? Like, what is something that like totally gets under your skin that maybe we have no clue we're doing, or maybe we do, I don't know, as white people, as the white culture or black culture? Is there something that you're like,
okay.
They just don't know, they're being ignorant, or...
Okay, there's a lot of different things, but one of the obvious, and I think this is one of the, and I'm just starting at the top. This is one of the goofiest conversations. The N-word is the goofiest conversation when it comes to European folks that I talk to. Mm-hmm. Well, why can't we say it, and why can't we such and such? I'd be like, first of all, why do you want to say it? And then I do think that there's an intent. The word that had been created that it's actually attached to literal murder, rape, sodomy, mutilation, hanging, all of those things. Like there's not many words that are associated with a group of people that has those things attached to it.
Yeah.
Right? I had a friend, true story, on Facebook. I had these two friends, they were going back and forth. One of them called the other one a cracker. Right? Two of my white friends. And I put LOL. I'm totally not in it. I think they're silly. I had another friend text me like, I can't believe you laughed at the word cracker. Now, if somebody would have said the N-word, I said, you're dumb. I said, you're an idiot. Like, I didn't even, like, I threw the friendship and everything out the, like, I just was like, you're dumb. Well, what's the difference? If I got to explain the difference to you, you're really an idiot. Does that make sense to you?
Can I be honest with you though? Like, I didn't know.
Yeah, but they did.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And that's how I stated. That's why, I was talking about the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. That's what the word means. That's what the word was created. Like that's what now what has happened through the years is that the culture, the black culture, has taken the word, reconfigured it to mean something else. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when a black person hears a white person say the N-word, they're not deciphering, are you saying it in love, or are you saying it by which the meaning that someone who looks like you is coming from with it?
Right.
Is that what you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's like a number one. That's like I don't know, that's like the top of the, you know what I'm saying? But there's more other things, but the sensitivity to the lack of sensitivity to the understanding to the community and the history as a whole, I think contributes to a lot of the misunderstanding. You know what I'm saying? Like this is something that irritates African American people. When we African American people, black people, sometimes have a feeling as if white people are intrigued as if we're pets. So that's why you'll get and this is like almost a comedy thing too. It's like, can I touch your hair? It's like, oh my gosh, I've never seen it like that before. The braids, the such and such and such. And African American is like, okay, okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've always been here. I'm not different. You know what I'm saying? Or I am different, but not like that. Like I'm still human. I bleed. You know what I'm saying? And me personally, I'm a big non-assimilation guy. So something that irritates me the most is when this country, Europeans in this country, feel that I have to be like you. I have to talk like you. I have to look like you. You know what I'm saying? Jimmie, you speak so well. As opposed to what, fool? What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's those cultural nuances that touch me the most. Some of that little goofy stuff. I don't want to say goofy stuff because it means something to some people. Some of the other stuff doesn't touch me like that. It's the lack of understanding to me when it comes to some of the cultural stuff, the humane type of things. Think about this. I thought about this the other day. Sagging of pants, which I don't sag, and I think is stupid. I think is goofy, right? Well, I know people everywhere who sags that looks like everybody. But there's a perpetuation that it's an African American thing, so that's the problem with it. Does that make sense? The problem is that it's wait a minute, why is that an African American thing, first of all? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now it's a problem because it's an African American thing. as opposed to something else. So that's some of the things.
So can I touch your hair?
It's sweaty bald. So you have to wipe that sweat off or put it in the food we just ate. One of the two. So let me ask, did I ask you, what do you think about the anthem when you see people kneeling?
Personally, I feel like I just want to know what it's about. Like I feel like I would want to kneel. Like I would want to. I do.
Oh my gosh, that is great.
I do.
Oh my gosh, you are so funny.
I'm serious.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, first of all, I want to know what it's about. Second of all, like if there's injustice happening, like I'm for that cause. I want to be for those people. I want to be along with it. I don't know. Not for the attention, but for the fact that something is happening. There's a conversation not being had that needs to be had. And that's why I'm doing this. This is in a way me kneeling. If I, but I don't play football, and I probably won't ever go to a football game other than my kids' high school football games.
Right, but I'm gonna be honest with you. That's the soul. And again, I've already told you, kneel or no kneel doesn't mean jack to me.
Right.
It's the intent. So for instance, I don't have the problem with football, the NFL, the way some people do. Mm-hmm. I have a problem with the system of control and the obvious disrespect towards the players as the NFL. This just so happens to be part of it. You see what I'm saying? How they react and respond to it. Well, so people were out there, I'm until Colin Kaepernick gets a job, I'm not watching the NFL. I'm like, you're dumb. You're stupid. First of all, they ain't got to hire the dude. They don't have to hire him. But if they choose not to hire him, then they just have to be honest about the system that they're choosing to operate under.
Right.
Does that make sense?
What's the why?
Because there's only one reason why you're not hiring the kid. You're not hiring him because he's kneeling during the national anthem. This is the connotation that you chose to put on the national anthem. It's his freedom to protest, and this is your way of stalling him out. But at the same time, I'm not this feeling dude. I'm not this do something to make me feel better and then you'll get my whatever. Get the heck out of here. No, I'm out. Like if I don't watch the NFL, it's because I don't agree with the system of the NFL. So you have some people who are in this thing to make themselves feel better. So if Colin got a job, now you're just all the way so happy with the NFL. You see what I'm saying? Like I don't operate in that space. You see what I'm saying? Whether I choose to watch the NFL or not, it's based upon the truth of the totality of the thing. Not you doing, I don't need your validation.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I don't need you to do something to make me feel good. I don't need you to do something so you can prove to me that you care when your actions are already showing me that I know where you stand. Does that make sense? So on Facebook, I've been clowning people on my wall. That I don't go to people's walls, but if it come across my feed, and if they say something about the protest or something, I'll be like, you are so unpatriotic. And they'll be like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'm like, because you said if you were really a patriot, if you were really an American patriot, you'd be on your knee too. And then I hear nothing from them.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's where I stand from. I want the bigger picture to be honest and truth, not just someone doing something for me to feel good. I actually think that's how we got here in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? If we would have continued to have that progressive conversation from back in the day until now, then I think that the empathy and sympathy would be at a greater place than people being totally surprised at what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that that live in neighborhoods, they go to particular schools, they do things, and they're afraid because of the color of their skin. You see what I'm saying? And that's what he's kneeling for. He's kneeling for the attention that comes to the African American community this in some ways very justified, right? And it does have a little bit to do with police officers, because I personally believe that the inundation of the social media and the camera showing the injustices of some of these guys and these ladies that have made some really, really bad decisions.
Yeah.
That they have actually gotten off with no recourse, no nothing. Well, that's injustice, right? You tell African Americans to believe in the system, to do everything the way that the system tells them to do it. Then you tell them to believe in the system, in the judicial system, and they're watching.
But there's no justice.
There's totally no justice. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the culture has honestly lived that for quite some time. So now social media has kind of made it out there a little bit. Now, so people need to understand before we go.
Yeah.
I don't think all cops are, I'm not that guy. I had an argument, I put something on Facebook on purpose to say, I don't think all cops are bad, not even by a long shot, right? But I do believe people are people. And even in the most innocent, people make mistakes. And they should just be held responsible for the mistakes that they made. You know what I'm saying? At the minimum, on behalf of the family and the individuals. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then that's how you prove leadership and justice. And that's how that thing will change. If you hold certain people, certain cultures, whether it's a police culture, whether it's a priest culture, whether it's a pastor culture, whether it's a daddy culture, a mommy culture, a family culture, if you hold people responsible for the injustices that they're in, then I think that's when people will look at themselves a little bit stronger and say, who do I choose to be according to this particular choice and decision I'm making?
Yeah, I like it.
So that's me.
Thank you.